Commander Vex-Thul adjusted his 12 sensory appendages and let out what could only be described as a satisfied hiss. The holographic display before him showed the small blue planet rotating peacefully, completely unaware that its doom approached at 17% light speed. "Pathetic little mudball," he muttered to his second-in-command, Sub-Admiral Krixmole. "Intelligence reports indicate they haven't even achieved proper faster-than-light travel. Still burning chemical fuels. Can you believe it?" Krixmole's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of amusement among their species. "Sir, are you certain we need the entire 3rd Assault Fleet for this? It seems excessive. Like using a plasma cannon to swat a gnat." Vex-Thul's mandibles clicked irritably. "The Galactic Council was very clear, Sub-Admiral. These humans have been expanding too rapidly for a species of their technological level. 17 colony worlds in 50 of their years? Completely unacceptable. We make an example of them now, or every backwater species starts getting ideas." The massive dreadnought, Infinite Retribution, led a formation of 300 warships toward Earth's solar system. Each vessel bristled with quantum torpedo launchers, reality-warping beam weapons, and shields that could deflect the energy output of a small star. The Zorathian Empire had conquered 47 star systems using less firepower. "Sir," Communications Officer Yilnex called from her station, "we're receiving a transmission from the human homeworld." "Oh, this should be entertaining," Vex-Thul practically purred. "Put it through. Let's hear them beg." The main screen flickered, revealing a human female with short auburn hair and remarkably calm green eyes. She wore what appeared to be a simple black uniform with minimal decoration. "I'm Admiral Maya Torres of the United Earth Defense Force," she said, her voice steady despite facing certain annihilation. "To whom am I speaking?" Vex-Thul straightened to his full 7-foot height, his bioluminescent threat displays pulsing bright crimson. "I am Commander Vex-Thul of the Zorathian Imperial Navy. You stand before the might of 300 warships, each capable of glassing your pathetic planet. Surrender immediately, and your deaths will be swift." Admiral Torres tilted her head slightly, and Vex-Thul could swear he saw the corner of her mouth twitch. 300 ships? For us? I'm flattered, really. Though I have to ask, Commander, is that all you brought? The bridge fell silent. Even the usual hum of life support systems seemed to pause. Krixmole's eye stalks drooped in what their species considered profound confusion. Did she just mock our fleet strength?" he whispered. Vex-Thul's threat displays flared brighter. "Human. Do you not comprehend the situation? Each of our vessels could single-handedly destroy your largest cities. Our shields are impervious to your primitive weapons. Your entire military could not scratch our hull plating." Torres nodded thoughtfully. Impressive. Tell me, Commander, how many species have you conquered with this fleet?" 47 civilizations have fallen before Zorathian might. Vex-Thul boasted, his chest swelling with pride. "From the crystal cities of Nexus Prime to the floating kingdoms of Geth-Morai. All knelt before our superior technology." "Fascinating," Torres replied, still maintaining that infuriatingly calm demeanor. "And how many of those species fought back?" "They all resisted initially, of course, but our overwhelming firepower—" No, Torres interrupted, waving a hand dismissively. "I mean really fought back. Used unconventional tactics. Made you work for it." Vex-Thul's mandibles clicked in confusion. "What does that matter? Superior technology always prevails. The strong dominate the weak. It is the natural order." Torres leaned forward slightly, and for just a moment, Vex-Thul caught something in her eyes that made his threat displays flicker uncertainly. It wasn't fear. It wasn't desperation. It was something far more dangerous: anticipation. "Commander," Torres said, her voice dropping to an almost conversational tone, "has anyone ever told you about human history?" Specifically, what happens when someone shows up at our door with superior technology and demands surrender? Your primitive past is irrelevant. Vex-Thul snarled, but he noticed several of his bridge crew leaning forward, suddenly interested despite themselves. Oh, but it really isn't, Torres continued. See, we have this funny habit. When someone comes along with better weapons, faster ships, stronger armor, we don't just roll over and die. We get creative. Take the Battle of Britain, for example. The Germans had more planes, better trained pilots, superior numbers. Should have been a slaughter. She paused, letting that sink in. Or Vietnam. The Americans had helicopters, jets, satellite intelligence, overwhelming firepower. Should have been over in months. Or Afghanistan. The Soviets had tanks, air support, chemical weapons. Easy victory, right? Vex-Thul found himself oddly compelled by her words, despite his growing irritation. What is your point, human? Torres smiled, and it wasn't a pleasant expression. My point, Commander, is that humans have a very special relationship with the word impossible. When someone tells us we can't win, we take it as a personal challenge. When they tell us our weapons are too primitive, our ships too slow, our tactics too simple, well, that's when things get interesting. Enough of this nonsense. Vex-Thul roared. You have 10 of your minutes to surrender, or we begin the bombardment. Actually, Torres said, checking what appeared to be a primitive digital timepiece, I think we'll pass on the surrender. But I do have a counter-offer. The audacity was breathtaking. Krixmol actually gasped, a sound like air escaping from a punctured habitat dome. You dare, here's the deal, Torres continued as if Vex-Thul hadn't spoken. Turn your fleet around now, and we'll pretend this never happened. Head home, tell your superiors that humanity isn't ready for contact yet, and we'll all go about our business. Nobody gets hurt, nobody loses face, everybody wins. Vex-Thul's bioluminescent displays now pulsed so brightly they cast harsh shadows across the bridge. You are either insane or incredibly stupid. Probably a little of both, Torres admitted cheerfully. But that's what makes us human. We're too dumb to know when we're beaten, too crazy to give up when we should, and too stubborn to die quietly when someone tries to kill us. She leaned back in her chair, still smiling that unsettling smile. Last chance, Commander. Walk away. Please. For your own sake. Vex-Thul cut the transmission with a savage gesture. The bridge remained silent for several heartbeats before Krixmol spoke carefully. Sir, that was unusual. Perhaps we should consider. Consider nothing. Vex-Thul snapped. No primitive species speaks to a Zorathian commander in such a manner. All vessels, prepare for planetary bombardment. We'll show these arrogant mammals the price of defying the Empire. As weapon systems powered up across the fleet, none of them noticed the subtle changes occurring around Earth. The asteroid belt seemed slightly denser than their charts indicated. Several of Jupiter's moons appeared to be in the wrong orbital positions. And those communication satellites orbiting Earth, well, they looked remarkably well armed for communication satellites, but Zorathians were an advanced species with advanced technology and advanced tactics. They'd conquered 47 worlds with overwhelming firepower and superior strategy. What could a bunch of primitive humans possibly do against the might of the Imperial Third Fleet? They were about to find out, and in the depths of space, Admiral Torres was no longer smiling. Fire at will. Vex-Thul commanded, his voice echoing across 300 bridge speakers simultaneously. The first wave of quantum torpedoes streaked toward Earth, each one carrying enough destructive force to level a mountain range. Vex-Thul watched with satisfaction as the brilliant points of light crossed the void. In 30 seconds, the human homeworld would be reduced to radioactive ash, and the galaxy would remember why one did not defy the Zorathian Empire. 29 seconds. 28.27, the torpedoes simply vanished. What? Vex-Thul's mandibles clicked frantically. Where did they go? Communications Officer Yilnex's 4 eyes were wide with shock. Sir, the torpedoes have completely disappeared from our sensors. No impact signatures, no energy dispersal patterns, nothing. Impossible. Our targeting computers are flawless. Vex-Thul turned to his weapons officer. Fire again. Full spread. Another salvo launched. This time, Vex-Thul watched the sensor displays more carefully. The torpedoes traveled 90% of the distance to Earth, then, nothing. They didn't explode. They didn't get intercepted. They simply ceased to exist. Commander, Sub-Admiral Krixmol's voice carried a note of unease. Perhaps we should reconsider our approach. This is highly irregular. Before Vex-Thul could respond, Admiral Torres' voice crackled through the communication system, though no one had opened a channel. Testing, is this thing on? Oh good, it is. Hi again, Commander. Hope you enjoyed our little demonstration. How are you transmitting directly to our ships? Vex-Thul demanded. Our communication arrays are heavily encrypted. Torres' laugh was genuinely amused. Oh, that's adorable. You think your encryption is secure? Commander, we cracked your communication protocols about 15 minutes after you entered our solar system. We've been listening to everything you've said. Nice threat displays, by the way. Very intimidating. Really brings out your eyes. The bridge crew exchanged nervous glances. Several of them unconsciously dimmed their own bioluminescent patches. Impossible. Zorathian encryption is mathematically unbreakable. Yeah, about that, Torres continued conversationally. Your mathematics are really quite elegant. Very sophisticated. There's just one tiny problem with making something mathematically unbreakable. Which is what? Vex-Thul found himself asking despite his rage. Mathematics assumes everyone plays by the same rules. But see, humans have this nasty habit of changing the rules when we don't like them. Your encryption is indeed mathematically unbreakable. But math doesn't account for social engineering, hardware backdoors, or the fact that your communications officer is broadcasting on 17 different frequencies simultaneously. Yilnex looked down at her console in horror. I don't understand how that's possible. Also, Torres added cheerfully, might want to check your torpedo guidance systems. We may have made some minor adjustments. Vex-Thul's threat displays pulsed erratically. What kind of adjustments? Well, your torpedoes are incredibly sophisticated. Quantum-guided, reality warping, multidimensional tracking systems. Really impressive technology. Unfortunately for you, they're also incredibly trusting. They believe whatever their guidance computers tell them about target locations. A terrible suspicion began forming in Vex-Thul's mind. You hacked our torpedo guidance systems. Hacked is such an ugly word, Torres replied. We prefer, creatively redirected. Your torpedoes are currently orbiting Jupiter. We thought they'd make lovely additions to the local asteroid belt. Very scenic. The weapons officer's panicked voice cut through the conversation. Sir. All torpedo guidance systems have been compromised. The humans have somehow gained administrative access to our weapons array. That's not even the best part, Torres continued, her voice now carrying that same dangerous anticipation Vex-Thul had noticed earlier. Commander, you mentioned you've conquered 47 civilizations. That's quite impressive. Tell me, how many of those species had mastered quantum entanglement communication? 3, Krixmol answered automatically, then looked confused about why he'd responded. And how many had developed reality manipulation technology? 7, but what does that, and how many had working time dilation fields? 12 species possess temporal manipulation capabilities, Vex-Thul growled. Why are you asking these questions? Torres' voice dropped to a whisper that somehow carried perfectly across every speaker in the fleet. Because, Commander, you've just met species number 48. And we've mastered all of those technologies. Plus a few extras your previous conquests never thought of. The sensor officer suddenly screamed. Commander. Multiple contacts appearing throughout the fleet. They're everywhere. Vex-Thul spun toward the tactical display and felt his respiratory organs seize. Hundreds of small craft had appeared seemingly from nowhere, weaving through his fleet formation with impossible speed and agility. But that wasn't the terrifying part. The terrifying part was that they were inside his shields. How are they penetrating our defensive arrays? He roared. Simple, Torres replied. Your shields are designed to stop fast-moving objects from outside. They work by creating a barrier that deflects incoming energy and matter. Very effective against conventional attacks. One of the human craft zipped directly through the Infinite Retribution's primary shield generator, somehow existing in the same space without triggering any collision alarms. But they're completely useless against objects that don't technically exist in normal spacetime. Phase shift technology is wonderful, isn't it? We learned it from studying quantum mechanics. Turns out reality is far more flexible than most species realize. Vex-Thul watched in growing horror as the small human vessels began attaching strange devices to his ship's hull plating. What are those things? What are they doing? Oh, those? Mining charges. Nothing too dramatic, really. Each one is only equivalent to about half a kiloton of conventional explosives. The beauty is in the placement, though. Our engineers spent years studying Zorathian ship designs. We know exactly where to put them for maximum structural damage. You're bluffing. Vex-Thul snarled, but his voice cracked slightly. You can't possibly have studied our technology. This is first contact. Torres' laughter was downright maniacal now. First contact? Oh, Commander, you really haven't been paying attention, have you? Did you think humans stayed on one little planet for 50 years without anyone noticing us? We've been exploring, trading, learning, and yes, occasionally fighting, for decades. We just kept quiet about it. That's impossible. Our intelligence networks would have detected human expansion. Your intelligence networks did detect us, Torres corrected. Problem is, they reported us as 17 different species. Humans are remarkably adaptable, Commander. We look different from each other, we act differently, we think differently. When your scouts encountered human colonies, they assumed they were meeting new alien races every time. The truth hit Vex-Thul like a plasma bolt to the brain. The traders on Nexus Station, the miners in the Vega system, the mercenaries who helped defend Kepler 442. All humans, Torres confirmed. We've been watching the Zorathian Empire for 20 years, Commander. Learning your tactics, studying your technology, understanding your weaknesses. Did you really think we'd just sit around waiting for you to show up and conquer us? Sub-Admiral Krixmol's voice was barely a whisper. Sir, we've walked into a trap. Oh, it's much worse than a trap, Torres said, somehow hearing him despite the closed communication channel. A trap assumes you had a chance to escape. This is more like a demonstration. Every mining charge attached to the Zorathian fleet detonated simultaneously, but instead of destroying the ships, they did something far more terrifying. The explosions created perfectly controlled hull breaches that vented atmosphere in precise patterns, spelling out a message in 17 different Zorathian dialects: go home. Your ships are intact, Torres announced as emergency klaxons blared across 300 vessels simultaneously. Your crews are alive. Your weapons are disabled, your engines are functional, and your life support will last exactly long enough to reach Zorathian space. Consider this a professional courtesy. Vex-Thul stared at the tactical display showing his once mighty fleet now drifting helplessly, spelling out humanity's message in glowing letters across the void. Why? He asked quietly. Why didn't you destroy us? Torres' voice softened slightly. Because, Commander, despite what you might think, humans don't actually enjoy killing. We're very good at it when we have to be, but we prefer other solutions. You came here expecting to fight primitives with sticks and stones. Instead, you found a species that's been preparing for this conversation for 2 decades. The Galactic Council will never accept this defeat, Vex-Thul said weakly. The Galactic Council will accept whatever we tell them to accept, Torres replied. Because right now, we have mining charges attached to their ships too. Amazing what you can accomplish when you have quantum entanglement communication and 50 years of patient planning. As the human vessels began disappearing back into phase shift, Torres' voice carried one final message: tell the galaxy something for us, Commander. Tell them humans don't like bullies. Tell them we don't respond well to threats. And tell them that the next time someone shows up at our door demanding surrender, the last human craft vanished, leaving the Zorathian fleet alone in the cold darkness of space. We might not be quite so polite about it.